Okay, yes, hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. My name is Alan, this is my life in Taiwan, and in today's video we have a few corrections to make after a recent video didn't go down too well with the audience. And looking back, I've definitely made some mistakes regarding the line between teacher and YouTuber. The last video where I invited Uncle Topher to take part in some criticism of some Taiwanese YouTubers' English was possibly in poor taste and more along the lines of YouTube and entertainment rather than English and teaching. So I took the video down, and what I've decided to do is reshoot the video by myself, taking full responsibility and taking out some of that unnecessary editing that I actually believe helps aid retention, keeps people watching for longer. But that's not what this video is about. In this video, we're going to take a look at exactly the same YouTubers that I looked at in the last video, look at their strengths, look at their weaknesses, and hopefully give them a little bit of guidance as to how they can improve their English rather than just looking at their mistakes and judging them against each other. So I think that's enough explaining as to why I took the video down and why I'm back to make this one. So let's get straight into it. Same YouTubers. First off the bat, Tayaga.
Hello, I'm Tayaga.
Very good, energetic introduction with no English mistakes. I am Tayaga, I am Alan, I am Tom, I am Mary are all perfectly fine ways to introduce yourself. But my advice would be, if it's the first time meeting somebody, whether it's in person or online, as it is in this case, then a more polite, perhaps more formal way and less intimidating way would be to use the full sentence, my name is Tayaga. But as I said, that's just my advice. And we have to remember, Tayaga is a YouTuber trying his best to be entertaining, which he is very much succeeding at in this video, much more entertaining than I was in my previous video. And his English was perfect in this introduction. I am Tayaga, perfect way to introduce yourself.
遇过外国朋友，然后来问你一些跟台湾相关的问题。有啊，我回答都是no English, no English， 不行。
So yes, here's another example where Tayaga makes absolutely no mistakes in his reply, and this is a reply I often get when asking Taiwanese people for help. No English, no English, and being able to say no English in response to an English person asking you for help puts you above 90% of the people in my home country of the UK. If you were to ask them for help in Chinese, there is no way they can help you in Chinese. There is no way they can even say 没有中文，不会讲中文. So even being able to say no English puts him above most of the foreign language speakers in England. And as I said, replying with no English is not wrong. If Tayaga wants to improve his English just a little bit, then maybe adding sorry, no Chinese would be a little bit more friendly, a little bit less aggressive. And then to level that up even further, you would simply reply, sorry, I don't speak English.
Where is Taiwan?
Okay. You don't know Taiwan?
You don't know Taiwan? A perfect English sentence. And it's exactly what I would say to somebody asking me, where is the UK? You don't know the UK? Yes, Tayaga's pronunciation is a little bit Taiwanese, but as I've said many times before to students and on my YouTube channel, there is absolutely nothing wrong with speaking English in your own country's accent, whether that's French, Spanish, Taiwanese, or indeed American. With you, why am I? As long as you're communicating and being understood, then you're doing well. And in fact, in this video, Adi does tell Tayaga that he understands what he's trying to say. He's just guiding him in the right way, as a good teacher should do.
我觉得还可以，我听得懂。
Okay, so when answering the question regarding where is Taiwan, we can start to see how Tayaga's English breaks down a little bit and where his weaknesses are.
Oh no, where is Taiwan?
Taiwan in Asia.
Asia, okay.
It's a so big country.
It's a very big country.
It's a country, yeah.
It's a country, okay.
Yes, there's vocabulary problems, there's some sentence and grammatical errors, but as I said in the video with Topher, his energy and willingness to speak is absolutely amazing and very commendable, and I wish that more of my students could be like this. As a teacher, these are the students that you know will be successful in English if they keep trying, they keep studying, because they've gotten over that first hurdle of being shy or lacking in confidence to speak.
Behind the China.
Behind
And
China?
the right.
On the right. Okay, on the right.
Yes, Tayaga obviously needs some guidance and control in his pronunciation and sentence structure and his grammar, which Ray is doing a very good job of in this video. In fact, in this example,
Above, below.
Above, below.
where we can see a great demonstration of Ray's teaching skills, where Tayaga repeats the word about instead of above, and Ray overemphasizes the pronunciation of above, which then Tayaga perfectly mimics him and says above, which again shows a great demonstration of teaching from Ray, learning as a student from Tayaga, as it's all about repeating after your teacher, mimicking the sounds and the pronunciation, which Tayaga does very enthusiastically, but correctly.
Oh, so easy. English is so easy. Okay, I know.
So in summary, Tayaga is obviously a very basic English speaker, but is full of potential. He's full of confidence, full of energy and willingness to learn, and already has a foundation of basic vocabulary that we can use to build up on and improve in future. He obviously lives in a world where he doesn't need to speak English, and when he says no English, he believes that he doesn't speak English, where in fact his English is actually better than he thinks it is, which is true of many Taiwanese people when I ask them, do you speak English? And they will say, sorry, I don't speak English, or I don't speak English very well. But overall, as a self-proclaimed non-speaker with no English, this is a good example of how to start your English learning.
If you enjoy this episode, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.
Okay, so on to the next English-speaking Taiwanese YouTuber, and that's going to bring us to Joeman, a very successful, wealthy, entertaining, and nice guy from what I can see in his videos.
Also remember to turn on notifications.
And the example we just witnessed was him obviously reading an English script, which is why I didn't include it in the first video, but he reads it quite well with a nice, smooth, flowing American-style pronunciation and has some really nice inflections.
And follow us online to interact with us in real time.
Inflections are when our voice goes up and down according to the context of what we're saying, showing that Joeman does actually understand what he's reading. It's not just making sounds, as some Taiwanese people will do when they're reading an English script. When he reads the phrase to interact with us in real time,
To interact with us in real time.
he stumbles a little bit over the word interact, which maybe shows a sign of weakness, but actually to me shows that he's not rehearsed this script and he's actually reading it genuinely, as I said, not just making the sounds, not just repeating something he studied and learned, which demonstrates to me as a teacher analyzing his vocabulary that interact is a new word for him, and if I were to be teaching him, I would know what level of vocabulary to set in lesson plans.
赚钱
Money.
那只有钱，但是赚呢？
And I'm going to repeat one of the points that I mentioned in the previous video regarding Joeman's English, and that's that his problem is probably the opposite of what Tayaga has. Joeman's English is probably of a higher level than Tayaga's, but his willingness and confidence to speak in public is a little bit lower, and you can see this when he asks the question, 'earn ma?' He uses the Chinese question participle instead of just using the English, 'is it earn?' Now, of course, he's on a Chinese-speaking podcast, so there's no reason for him to speak English, but they are discussing the English topics, and I think his English is good enough to know the phrase, 'is it earn?' But he just chooses to stay in his safety zone, and I'm sure he's very happy to stay in his comfort zone, a comfort zone surrounded by 2 million subscribers that love him, think he's very entertaining in Chinese, and he probably doesn't really feel the need to learn too much English or speak too much English on his channel. Again, if I were given the option of being Joeman's teacher, it would be my responsibility to encourage him out of his comfort zone, to push his limits and try new words and phrases, and maybe don't be so afraid of making mistakes. After all, making mistakes is the way we learn best. Make the mistake, learn not to do it again, and your English will improve.
大杀四方，他用 make
Make a killing.
killing， 真的
Make a killing 真的有人在讲。
Now, this example where he asks about the validity of the phrase to make a killing, he knows killing means to murder or end somebody's life, but he doesn't believe or he hasn't heard the phrase to make a killing as in make a lot of money, which shows to me, if I were to be Joeman's English teacher, that I would focus more on helping him learn double, triple, quadruple meanings of certain words and phrases. Every time I teach him a new word, if that word has a double, triple, quadruple, quintuple meaning, then I would teach Joeman all of those different meanings so that he doesn't face this situation in future where he thinks killing only has one specific meaning.
而且那个时候，因为我知道什么东西加 fucking 就是惨极度的意思嘛，他说没有 fucking rich 不是这个意思，他说 fucking rich 是我看到任何人我都可以比中指。
Yes, the same thing happens here with a profanity where Joeman confuses the F word, as we call it, with an insult, whereas in many cases, the F word is not just used as an insult, but also as an amplifier, or just to add emphasis to something. Yes, it can be used in a very rude and derogatory way. If I was to say somebody had, excuse my French, then I'm being rude or derogatory about that car. But if I was to tell somebody, I love you so rude, this is just an emphasizer or an amplifier of what I'm trying to say. So again, just to show here that Joeman is quite focused on one meaning of each word. And if it were up to me as his teacher, I would spend time educating him on the different meanings of certain words. In summary, for Joeman, he, just like Tayaga, probably doesn't need to speak English all that often. In fact, he actually has a Joeman English channel where he has a video in America, in New York, where he's actually using AI to dub his voice into English, which is very convincing, a sign of the future perhaps, and Joeman certainly at this time is probably not thinking too much about improving his English when he's got so many other things to do regarding his channel. But overall, decent vocabulary, great intonation and inflection when speaking sentences, and just a little bit of a lack of confidence in speaking out and losing face. Again, nothing wrong with that. If you don't want to speak English out, then you're more than in your rights to keep yourself to yourself. Not bad job from Joeman.
My English is so bad.
Probably the shortest clip of a Taiwanese YouTuber speaking English that I have to analyze in this video, and that's from good friend Jianbao. And actually, when he heard that my video had been taken down because of the audience's reaction, he had 2 words to say. So Jianbao's profanity in English is absolutely perfect, but from this clip, it's obvious that he's lacking in confidence and believes wholeheartedly that his English is so bad.
My English is so bad.
But even the way that he says so bad, he uses intonation, inflection, not just speaking like a robot, which is a really good way or a good place to start your English learning journey.
So I pray iPhone.
And yes, he does have a slight mispronunciation of the PL sound in play and pronounces it with a slight R sound, which is a very common Taiwanese mistake. And as a solution to this, as his teacher, I would start him off on some pronunciation drills, get him repeating those double consonant words, the pl, the cl, the sl. So for this example, play, then I would get him to repeat PL, pl words. Play, plot, ply. Just get him to repeat them over and over again, and he will definitely see improvements within the first lesson or 2 of practicing these pronunciation drills.
I'm Jianbao. My content is mainly around inventing crazy ideas to get a reaction out of my friends.
And of course, the pre-recorded message he had for the audience that day was very well pronounced, very well spoken.
I'm very happy and lucky to be able to speak and become.
A little bit of a Taiwanese accent, but I insist that the Taiwanese accent is just as valid as the French, Spanish, or American accent. Quick summary for Jianbao: knowing full well that he wants to improve his English, he messages me often asking me when we can make a video together. We are going to make a video together, and I'm actually going to send him a full scholarship to my English course, which is available in the description down below. Jianbao, you're getting free access to the English course, and I hope it can help you improve, as I hope it can help my students improve when it goes live September 15th. Had to get a quick plug in for the course. I'm sure you won't mind. There's a link in the description down below. I won't sell it too hard.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening.
Yes, next on the list of Taiwanese YouTubers speaking English to face teacher Alan's critical test is very successful and very entertaining, very funny YouTuber, and that's Hook.
My name is Hook.
And Hook's video is probably the one that I have most things to say and the most interesting criticism of, because it's actually a sponsored video for an English speaking app. So she actually talks openly about her feelings regarding English and why she finds it difficult. And she starts the video,
但其实我非常讨厌讲英文这件事情。
which makes analyzing her English much easier. So let's get to that intro, that start.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening.
3 perfect greetings. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. But then when she introduces herself,
My name is Hook.
she says, my name is Hook. But she doesn't close her mouth when she says the M at the end of name. So it sounds like my name is Hook. Again, we understand what she's trying to say. There is no miscommunication. And I'm sure if I was Hook's English teacher, I could fix this mistake in seconds, just reminding her that with an M sound, the mouth has to close, and the N sound, the mouth is more like a smile. M, N. And although the next sentence is in Chinese, I think it's very important.
但其实我非常讨厌讲英文这件事情。
Yes, Hook actually confesses that she hates speaking English and then gives us this very valid reason.
因为我的舌头不知道为什么没有办法发出3这个音，就是 free， 我会念成 free。
Yes, Hook's first problem is self-confessed that she's not very good at pronouncing certain words. 3, the TH sound that Chinese just doesn't have. In the Chinese language, the tongue always stays in the mouth, but in English for TH, the tongue pops out a little bit, and it's just something that really requires lots of muscle memory practice, repeating words, this, that, those. But again, just making sure that you're aware of where your tongue should be in the mouth is the perfect way to improve pronunciation of certain words. So yes, in the next clip, Hook is actually using the app to talk to a native speaking English teacher, which I'm 90% certain is a British guy, and he asks her why she wants to learn English.
I want to only talk in English for a week.
Okay. Why do you want to speak English?
Okay, here's a great example of a good English teacher. Hook says, I only want to talking English. Not a bad sentence, a couple of mistakes, and the teacher replies with a question, why do you want to only speak English?
Why do you want to speak English?
He slightly emphasizes the word speak because he knows that Hook has made a slight mistake using talking English when actually the correct word should be speak English. He doesn't say, you were wrong, that was the wrong sentence, you shouldn't say talking, you should say speak. He just repeats the question with the correct word in place.
I only visa for buying things.
Okay, so this conversation is obviously quite difficult, quite challenging for Hook. There's a few times when she gets stuck for what to say, but she's doing a good job. She's trying her best to communicate, and she even asks the teacher how to say something, which is of course what the teacher is there for.
How can I say if I want to use card to pay something?
I'm gonna pay by card.
And then she starts to explain why she thinks English is so difficult.
My English base because I always use Chinese way to say English.
I'm pretty sure that 90% of Taiwanese English learners will connect and relate very deeply to what Hook has just said, in that her English problem is that she thinks in Chinese and has Chinese grammar and Chinese sentence structure in her head, but then can't get it out in English sentence structure and sentence pattern. If I were Hook's teacher, I would encourage her to try to think in English. Try not to translate things. Try to use other words to describe things. If you can't think of the word for apple, then don't just ask your teacher, what is a 苹果? You would ask your teacher, what is the red fruit that is sometimes green that grows on trees? Just as when you're learning your native language as a kid, you won't use translations because there's nothing to translate to. Try to use the words you have in English to describe what you're looking for. So a quick summary for Hook. Her fundamental basic problem is pronunciation. She self-confesses that she can't get her tongue around that TH sound. So as Hook's teacher, if I knew she was so focused on this TH sound that was inhibiting her confidence to speak out, I would spend the first lesson, 2-3 lessons, getting that TH sound absolutely perfect and sure in her mind, so that every time she comes to a TH word when speaking, she has no problems with it, cannot stumble over it, and not inhibit her confidence and speaking out. So I know this video has already gone on for quite a while, and that's the reason that I had to edit the first video so quickly and so sharply in order to squeeze in as much information as possible. And I'm not going to go through all of the other YouTubers that I criticized in the first video, as most of them are quite accomplished English speakers anyway. I was looking for really picky details to try and find something controversial to say. So, Jianbao, I loved your experience at In-N-Out, asking a member of the public for his advice on what to eat. Showed great confidence, and when you came across a word that you didn't know, you Googled it, you asked him, what does it mean? But then you didn't go in and order the root beer float. I really wanted to see you experiencing that guy's favorite drink. Ku, Adi, Dime, and Peggy, your English is what I would consider absolutely fluent, just as a native speaker, and Topher even agreed with me that if he was listening to you guys speaking, then he would consider you all to be 100% native speakers. And to Echo and Sandra, I absolutely love your rivalry between the American accent and the British accent, even though Echo is a little bit too British. I don't think I've ever met someone as British as Echo when it comes to the English language. But he obviously loves the British culture as much as he does the British language. So it's good to see someone representing my culture and my language so strongly. So there you have it, a 100% teacher's analysis of those Taiwanese YouTubers' English. Zero YouTube style editing. If you've made it to the end of the video, then thanks so much for your patience. I hope you've learned something. It's probably been more akin to a podcast for you than a YouTube video. But if you've really enjoyed it and you like the way I teach, you like the way I analyze things, then please take a look at my English course. There's a link in the description down below to the registration form, and there is a special discount up until it goes live on September the 15th. And of course, you can check out more details on my Facebook page and Instagram, where I've got details of the different modules that we'll be teaching in the course. Once again, I want to say sorry to anybody that was offended by my editing or phrasing or titling of the previous video. Of course, I feel a little bit bad for Topher for putting him on the spot. But after all, we are YouTubers that make a living from this platform. So we have to come up with some ideas that can be a little bit edgy and controversial. Maybe this one was a little bit rushed, a little bit tongue-in-cheek. So thanks for watching. And as for now, and as always, I'll see you next time in My Life in Taiwan. Peace. Bye-bye.